Sometimes life demands that you experience specific situations, adverse experiences that are providing you with a specific set of emotions or thoughts, which we call lessons, and that are leading you closer to your calling, that are leading you closer to your purpose. And that's all ultimately aiding in your ascension. And even if you had already made it, regardless of whatever stage you are on your journey, you might still face such experiences, and you might risk further complicating things way more than necessary if you don't approach or deal with those experiences the right way. But you probably already know all of this. You probably know this because you can feel it. You can feel it happening. You can feel that you have already aligned. You can feel that you have already made it and that it's gonna happen one way or another. You are starting to trust in your ability to make it happen. You're starting to believe in yourself more and more every day. And you are understanding that regardless of whatever life throws at you, you are on the right path. You are getting there. You are there. Regardless of any setbacks, you are starting to worry less and less because you are at the peak of consciousness. Our consciousness is peaking, and you can feel that. You can see from that. Each and every one of us is exceeding their limit in their own way. Each and every one of us is exceeding the ego's limit, the ego's victimization, the ego's misery, the ego's survival. We are exceeding the ego's level of awareness, and we are starting to see from a higher awareness. We're accessing God awareness, and now we can see what it was all for, what it was all leading us to. Why did it all happen? Why did we experience all that we did? Yes, it might have caused us a lot of suffering. It might have made our life absolute hell. But that was the ego's suffering because we did not understand. But now you're becoming more and more aware, and you're seeing it for what it really is. And you understand that we are ascending. You understand that you are among the chosen ones. And if you are here, and if you're watching this, I'm telling you, this is your confirmation. You are the one, you are selected to play this vital role in the collective ascension. Because essentially you are remembering. Essentially, you have chosen all of this. Out of all the lives that you could have chosen, you have chosen this very specific life with all its adversities, with all its suffering, with all its setbacks, with all its lessons. You have chosen this very specific life before you have forgotten, before you had been birthed into this reality. And you chose it for this very specific reason. You chose it because you knew that it's what helps you best play the role, your role in the collective ascension, because of what leads you to your ascension. This very specific path, this very specific experience, this very specific life that you have, that you are leading. And now you're leading with your awareness, with this understanding. You are remembering, whether you're aware of it or not, but you are remembering because we are at the peak of consciousness, and that's making it easier. It's making you believe more and more in your purpose, in your calling, in your journey, in the path you're living. And you have chosen this life out of the infinite lives that you could have chosen. And you know, all of that purpose, all of that calling, all of that what we call our purpose, our calling, our grand intention, our meaning here in life, this is all just means to an end. The end is the ascension. This is all. This was just, you were called on to do this because it is the best way to stimulate you to go through all of the experiences that you have been through. And that's why the path is the path. Your path is the right path, because ultimately experiencing everything that you've been going through is leading you to your ascension. And that calling was an essential part of this stimulation, of this trigger that triggered you on this journey. And you are becoming more and more aware of this. You are accessing this higher awareness, and you are seeing it for what it is. But nonetheless, this does not mean that you stop facing struggles, or that you stop identifying with the ego, or that you stop feeling the misery or the suffering or going in survival, that still means that you're gonna face all of these. That still means that you are gonna have to experience those adverse experiences, but to approach them right, to flow through them, because you control how long you stay in the journey. You control how much you suffer. You control how much you identify with this suffering, with this victimization. You control how long you live in survival. And that's by applying your God awareness. That's by accessing this higher awareness. And as you access, the more you access your awareness being, as you maintain being aware of your awareness, you're going to be able to detach from the ego. You're going to be able to detach from any experience of suffering, any lesson. You're going to see it for what it is. You're going to acknowledge it. You're going to live through it, but you won't take it personal, because you will understand. You will be seeing it from a higher perspective, and that does not, the suffering, the misery, it does not pertain to you. I mean, think about this. Think about God awareness. Think about what God really is. All knowing, all powerful, all aware, all understanding, all compassionate, omniscient. And what do you do to get there? How do you get closer to that? It is applying your higher awareness, the awareness that's not attached, the infinite awareness that we have spoken several times about on this channel. Your awareness is infinite, and I've said this many times, and I'll keep on saying it because it's true. There's always another level of a higher awareness that you can access. Every time you could look at yourself from above, but then you could look at that awareness even from above, and that is your infinite awareness. That's what you access, and you stop identifying with the ego. You stop playing with the suffering. You stop victimizing yourself. You stop the survival mentality, and you go on, you move on to your creator mentality, in which you're able to flow through life very easily, create your life intentionally and effortlessly, the best life that's gonna aid in your ascension, that's gonna aid the collective ascension, which you have been chosen for, which you have been playing a vital role in. But you have to apply it. You have to maintain being aware of your awareness, because if you don't, you're gonna be burying yourself deeper and deeper, and you're gonna be prolonging this experience, prolonging the suffering, and actually calling on to more suffering to help yourself, calling on to more adverse experiences to help yourself. But regardless, you know that you're making it. But even if you know that you're making it, although you know all of that, you're still gonna suffer through it. Because if you're not aware of being aware, and you face an adverse experience, it's gonna feel bad, and there's nothing you can do about that. You're gonna suffer. Your life is gonna become miserable. You might be lonely, and there's no one to even make you feel better. And then you're gonna indulge in further self-destructive experiences. You're gonna call into other experiences. You're gonna, to feel bad. When you feel bad, you make yourself feel even badder, so that the bad you're normally feeling is not that bad, if you understand what I mean. If you can hurt yourself more than anything, then nothing, no amount of hurt, no amount of threat, no amount of terror could bother you, could terrorize you, could actually influence you. So you start doing it to yourself. But what's even more is that the cycle gets more and more intense the more it repeats. Because as you fail through such experiences, if you are aware of being aware, you're gonna flow through all of those experiences very effortlessly. But if you attach, and if you identify, and if you experience the suffering, and you hate it, and you start rejecting, and you start resisting, you won't learn, you won't acknowledge what's meant for you there, and you will not progress further ahead on your journey. You will be stuck in that place. But what happens when you fail an experience, when you reject an experience that you were meant to feel, that you were meant to acknowledge? What happens is that you, as a creator, call onto another experience that's gonna teach you the same lesson through a different trial. And like I said, it gets more and more intense, because if this level did not get through to you, if you do not understand the lesson through such a mild trial, you will need a more intense trial. And all that you are creating is the path that's going to lead you there. And how do you create that? It's always based on your grand intention, based on your calling that you are creating. And how do you do that? You create a more intense experience, a more terrorizing experience. And now that's further down the bottom hole. More negativity, more identification, more dependency. At some point you break free. At some point you're able to see through the light, and this point is now. This awareness is now. Where I'm from, there is a saying that goes like, don't try to change someone who's past their 40, halfway through their life. Because, and although I don't really believe in that, although I don't necessarily identify with that saying or believe in anything that saying has to prove, but I do understand that it has ground basis, that it's built on something. Because the more you keep repeating those cycles, the more stuck you get in them. Because the more intense they get, the worse they get, the stronger your identification with them, the stronger your survival hits to be able to survive through that intensity, survive through that intensely adverse experience. And the more your survival hit, the more you're gonna merge your higher awareness with your ego's awareness. And if you merge your higher awareness with your ego's awareness, then you only become the ego. So you always have this ability to become aware of your awareness, but it's not always easy. It's not always something that you would want to do. It's not always something that's on your mind. It's not always something that's possible, although it's actually possible. But from an ego's point of view, from a dependence, from attachment, from dependency point of view, when you get so deeply attached to the misery that's happening, to the terror, to the threat in your external reality, your awareness gets dimmer and dimmer until it merges with your ego awareness. And when it's the ego's awareness, it's harder to detach. And if you repeat that over several cycles, it becomes harder and harder. And that's why they say, don't try to change someone who's over 40, because by that time it's very hard to change them. By that time there's not much that you can do, but we know that there is a lot that you can do. We know, we've seen people, I've personally seen many people, witnessed many older people, way older than 40, and change and go through fundamental changes, several changes. And so that's possible, but it's a bit whole. It's hard. It gets harder with time. So always try to maintain this higher awareness. Always access your God awareness and know that it's intrinsic. You know that. I don't have to remind you, but I don't have to tell you, but this is your reminder to always try to maintain that higher awareness. So don't let yourself get sucked in by this tornado, because you're gonna keep creating more and more intense experiences, because you can only draw from the field of alignment. You create based on your grand intention. You might be wondering, why don't I create this absolutely clarifying experience? Why don't I call onto that clarifying experience that's gonna make everything clear, and that's gonna teach me all the lessons, and that's gonna get me there faster and faster? And the reason is because it's not magic. You draw from your field of alignment. There are specific things that you are aligned with. If you're already aligned with all of that clarity, if you're already aligned with that joy, with that meaning, with that purpose, with that ascension, you would already be there. But in order to call onto an experience that gets you there, you call onto an experience, you create an experience that's only coincides with your alignment, that's only in accordance with your alignment, that only resonates with your vibration. And those experiences, the further you reject your truth, the further you reject and resist the experiences, the more you align with harsher experiences. And then you're only able to draw from lessons that are going to terrorize you and terrify you. And that's why you cannot simply call onto and create the final experience, the experience in which you have already completely overcame the journey and overcame the ego, while you still didn't in truth. And so any experience that provokes intense emotions in you is something that you're not aligned with. Intense emotions that you've never experienced before, or you haven't experienced in a long while. That means you're not aligned with such experience. If it feels very good, if it's extremely pleasurable and it's extremely blissful and ecstatic, it means it's something that you're not aligned with. Because if you are aligned with it, it's gonna feel good, it's gonna feel happy, joyful, but it's not continuous ecstasy, because you cannot sustain an experience of continuous, endless ecstasy. And that's why it means, and if it means that you are, once you manifest something, it's gonna bring you extreme pleasure, that means you're not yet aligned with that experience. And similar on the other side, on the other direction, it's not, you cannot manifest suddenly an experience of complete terror, but rather you keep building on. You keep, once you experience an intensity level, you're ready for it, you know, you're aware of it, you've been built tolerance to it, and now you're aligned with a more intense suffering, with more intense suffering, with a more miserable experience. And that's how you keep on drawing from your field of alignment. You cannot draw anything that's way up here or way down here. You draw only from the field of alignment, and that's what you're aligned with. And that's why you are gonna keep creating, gradually building that, the intensity of the suffering that you face through such experiences. But then you'll only be complicating your journey. And so the key is to always maintain being aware of your awareness, being aware of the ego's awareness, seeing everything for what it is, and remember that you are chosen. There is always God awareness for you to access, and you can access. It's possible. You just have to make it intentional. You have to just be open to it, be conscious of it, and then it will be an effortless journey for you. Then it will make sense. Then you would flow with the rhythm of life, and that all of those experiences that you have to face will only just be leading you to your calling or to your ascension. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me in another video. This is AF's Conscious Frequency. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel.